Hey guys, what's up? In today's video, I want to talk a little bit about the recent hate wave against Star Wars, and I want to analyze and break down why that is, why that's happening. We can see a massive increase in popularity for YouTube channels, for example, that are solely dedicated to just hating on Star Wars, especially since The Last Jedi came out, and it got even worse now that Solo is out, and I want to look at why that is. Why is that happening? I don't even want to take a stand and say, oh, the new movies are good, or they're bad, or terrible. That's not the point. I want to look at it as a phenomenon, right? Has Star Wars really become that terrible under Disney? Is this the beginning of the fall of Star Wars? Let's talk about this a little bit. Now, undoubtedly, there's a massive group of people who enjoy these videos and, judging from the likes, also agree what is being said in them. Now, I'm one of them. I do enjoy the critical debate around Star Wars, but I do not passionately hate The Last Jedi, and I haven't even seen Solo, so that really says something about, where Star Wars is at the current point in time. Me, as someone who would consider himself a quite big Star Wars fan, I grew up with the original trilogy. I really love all the debate and everything about Star Wars, but I didn't go to see Solo. Why? Because I wasn't hyped, right? I just didn't care. I saw the trailers, seemed meaningless, and it seems that the reviews kind of confirm me in that. So I didn't want to spend the money at the theaters. I'm going to watch it in the comfort of my home. Now, coming back to those videos, those hate videos, they're often targeted directly at people like Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson, blaming them personally for what has happened to Star Wars. Every plot hole is nitpicked and broken down into 15-minute monologues, and it's often in a very sensational tone of voice, which I personally don't appreciate. I think even if you hate a film or if you hate anything, you should always keep a professional distance and treat it with respect, even you might hate it or disagree with decisions that are being made. But in particular, this kind of targeting of individuals like Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson, I think is just ridiculous. I mean, yes, Rian Johnson wrote these movies, and Kathleen Kennedy might have had a big say in, imposing the whole social justice warrior aspect or angle to these movies, but it's not them alone. There is a massive corporate machine at Disney that sits behind this brand of Star Wars, and you have to realize when people break this down and simplify it and just say, oh yeah, it's Kathleen Kennedy, or oh, it's Rian Johnson, it's all his fault personally, that's just bullshit. People do this to simplify bigger problems into simplified narratives, right? And that people can understand, and everyone can understand, oh, Rian Johnson ruined Star Wars. That's one sentence everyone can get behind. And I always think this is problematic, right? You can see this happening a lot these days. Nobody wants to put the effort anymore in really understanding complex problems. We want to have a simplified solution. I think that is what's happening here. Now, another thing that upsets me a little bit when watching these videos, these rant and hate videos, and I'm intentionally not giving any channel names here because I don't want to start YouTube drama. I'm sure, if you're interested in the topic, you have seen those channels. But the ambition behind these videos is being sold as we are the Star Wars fans and we now need to claim Star Wars back. It's kind of been taken from us by Disney, and we need to raise our voice now to express our anger. And we, these YouTube people, are at the forefront of this, and we want to be heard by Disney. But I think the truth is very simple, that they keep making these videos because they are popular and generate revenue. That's pretty much it. Everyone wants to have a successful channel. Everyone wants to have a lot of views. So people realize, oh, if I keep ranting about The Last Jedi and Solo, then yeah, I get a lot of clicks and people subscribe to it. So that's good. I should be doing that. So I think often it's not really about having this genuine, passionate voice of the fans and putting it out there for Disney to be heard, but much more about growing your own channel. Of course, these people are passionate about Star Wars and they dislike where Disney took the franchise. I don't doubt that. But the reason they choose a certain tone of voice and why they are very exaggerated and one-sided and how they express their views is because these videos are popular. It's basically a clickbait mechanism, and often the same things are said in different videos again and again and again because there's just so much you can say about The Last Jedi and get upset about. But at some point, everything has been said, but you want to make more videos, right? You want to generate more revenue. So they put a slight twist on it and say the same thing in another video just to generate revenue and stay relevant. Now, of course, the new Star Wars movies don't deliver on the expectations of a day one Star Wars fan who has spent 40 years watching them over and over again. And arguably, The Last Jedi was an odd movie, right? But the reaction in those videos are by no means justified. After all, I mean, it's just a movie, guys. But it's interesting to observe what effect that public outrage has, right? I think for a lot of these people who make these videos, like I said, it's just growing their channel and increasing popularity and relevance for themselves, but it has a strong effect on the public outrage. It amplifies the hate that the movies and the brand gets. You know, while people right after the release of The Last Jedi were not liking the movie in particular, there was still a diverse range of opinions, right? People highlighted plot holes and maybe disliked particular scenes, and there was a debate going on, while now, few months down the road, the negative points have just been amplified by those videos and these very loud screaming opinions, and now we really hate The Last Jedi, and we really hate Solo, and we really hate Disney. Understand that no movie in the world, or no Star Wars movie in the world, could have ever pleased everyone, right? So even if Disney would have done exactly what these hardcore fans want, there would have still been a public uproar. There would still be loads of people who complain and say, well, this is shit, and there's a hole, and that doesn't make sense, and blah, 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 blah. It just wouldn't be these guys. It would be a bunch of other guys who would get really upset. Look, don't get me wrong, right? I don't like where Disney is taking Star Wars, right? The yearly releases, the awkward social justice warrior approach, and forcing female leads into all movies, you know, things like Jonathan Kasdan, who's like a co-writer of Solo, claiming that Lando Calrissian is now pansexual, and all these political aspects in the movies, trying to be politically correct. It just sucks, right? It's scary stuff for a day one Star Wars fan. But we have to ask ourselves, does it justify this uproar? And in my opinion, it just does not, right? It could stimulate an informed debate where we break down points and debate them back and forth. That's fine. But this really one-sided screaming into a microphone, everything sucks attitude, mainly to grow your channel, that's just, you know, it shouldn't really be supported in my opinion. Now let's come back to a statement that I made in the beginning, or a question that I raised. Is Star Wars a dying brand? Because these videos often pretend that Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson now single-handedly ram Star Wars into the ground and they're gonna destroy it and it's never gonna come back. The easy answer to that is no. No, it's not dying, right? Because at the moment they do milk it as hard as they can, and it is painful to watch, right? Especially these annual releases is just, I mean, we've seen it with Assassin's Creed, we've seen it with Call of Duty, the big entertainment franchises. You lose relevance. If you do that to any brand, you lose relevance. And I think a big reason why people now kind of live with the prequels, yes, they hate them, and Jar Jar Binks is a car crash, we all know that, but we do accept them to be canon, and they are part of the Star Wars universe, and they are accepted, is because they put enough time in between these movies so people can get hyped. You had your 2-3 years that were in between those releases, so you had time to get excited about it again, to kind of come up with your own fan fiction where the story could go, and it just keeps it fresh. Those annual releases are destroying it, and it is painful to watch for like a day one original trilogy Star Wars fan. But will this kill Star Wars as a brand? No, it will definitely not. Because if they realize that people are fed up, which you kind of can see already happening, right? Solo failing at the box office. But then they put it away for a few years. And then there are just a few years where there are no Star Wars movies. And when they then bring it back, let's say 5 years later, with a new set of movies, people will be excited again. What is dying, though, are the day one old school Star Wars fans. People like me, probably people like you, who mostly love the original movies. And you have to realize it is not about those anymore. You are not the audience who's going to buy the merchandise, who's going to spend a lot of money going to these theaters in the future, at least not in Disney's mind. Star Wars is so deeply embedded in our pop culture that it is literally impossible to die, at least not in the foreseeable future. In the long run, kids who grew up with these new movies, The Last Jedi and Solo and all that, they will glorify and romanticize them. They saw these films when they were like 11 or 10, that, you know, they go to the cinema and they see them with their parents, and it's pure magic, right? They love them because they don't have this context, and they're not as angry and bitter as many people on the internet are in our age group. So they will romanticize them and they will accept them as part of the Star Wars universe. universe, kind of like many people now do with the prequels. If you talk to people who grew up in the early 2000s, they're like, oh yeah, you know, if I'm honest, the prequels weren't so bad, right? That is because they sat in cinemas as young kids and saw them, and for them those movies were not the trash that they were for us. They were magic. And now we're at the point where those movies are much more accepted, right? And they are accepted as part of the bigger Star Wars canon. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, you know, that's not for me to judge, but it is definitely a phenomenon that is happening. So in conclusion, guys, I just wanted to make this video to make sure that you're not all jumping on this hate train. It's okay to dislike the new movies, and it's okay to debate them, and that's actually a good thing. But stay within reason. And mainly don't jump on hate campaigns like the one against Kelly Marie Tran, who was like in Rogue One, the Asian girl. I don't know how to describe it differently. Like, you know, it also wasn't my favorite character in the movie, but, you know, it's by all means not her fault. I mean, don't project all your hate on this one person and then destroy her on social media. It's just ridiculous, guys. Like, don't even go there. Don't let yourself down on that kind of level. Don't support these kind of hate campaigns. And overall, Star Wars is and will always be a very interesting cultural phenomenon. And even if Disney screws it up, right, it will be interesting to see how they're going to try to save it, where they're going to go with it. So try to see it as a bigger phenomenon and not just as, oh, this particular movie at the moment sucks balls, right? And I want to hate against that. It just doesn't go anywhere, and it doesn't unite us as Star Wars fans at all. And yeah, I think it's time that there are more voices online that just offer a little bit more of a considered critical debate around Star Wars rather than people screaming that everything is shit for clicks. Guys, that's my opinion. You can disagree. If you disagree, hit that like button. If you agree with me, also hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell, whatever people do on YouTube these days. I would really appreciate that if you want to see more. I really try to do a little bit more videos in the near future, but it's busy times, and I really just want to do videos that I care about and that I'm passionate about. And I think we're in a time right now where everything is debated to death. So sometimes I just feel like it doesn't also need a video from me. But if you enjoyed this one, like I said, tell me in the comments, share your opinions down in the comment section below. I would greatly appreciate that. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for caring for Star Wars, and I'll see you next time. I'm out. Bye.